The Bronze stars Melissa Rauch and Haley Lou Richardson, who we last saw in Edge of 17, which I really liked. This film, not so much. If I was 12 years old, I would think this movie was the best thing ever. Unfortunately, it's rated R, so you can't watch it when you're 17, kids, or at least you're not supposed to. Melissa Rauch's character is a bronze medalist at the not Olympic Games. They can't say Olympics because it's a trademark, but at the Games. And that's kind of the only thing she's done in her life. She finds herself a hero of her hometown, but not so much anymore. She's in a state of arrested development, which changes when she's given the opportunity to make $500,000 by training Haley Lou Richardson's character. And comedy ensues. 100% of the comedy in this is Haley Lou Richardson's character being saccharine sweet and Melissa Rauch's character being incredibly vulgar, but not funny. It's just cursing, which, like I said, would be funny if I was a teenager, but I'm not. And there's a weird relationship between Melissa Rauch's character and a character played by Thomas Middleditch. And he's a nice guy, and why would a guy like that ever want a character like Melissa Rauch's? There's literally nothing redeeming about her. This movie's not that long. It felt incredibly long. There's no laughs to be had. Waste of time. Some Like It Hot stars Marilyn Monroe, Tony Curtis, and Jack Lemmon. You don't need me to sit here and tell you this movie is good. It was one of the first 25 films to be inducted into the Library of Congress. It was the top comedy film on AFI's top 100 comedies of all time. Me sitting here and saying this movie's really good is a no-brainer. But there's something I found interesting. This movie predates the MPAA rating system, the G, PG, PG-13, and R rating system we know today. It was governed by the production code, or known as the Hays Code. And this movie just flaunts the fact that it had no intention of ever aligning with the code. Did a lot of research in college about the Hays Code, so I know a considerable amount about it. And this movie tries to break almost every rule in it. Billy Wilder had no intention of getting the seal of approval for this film. It deals with subject matter that would have never been improved. There's a lot of innuendo in the writing that alludes to things that would have never been acceptable. So it's just interesting to see this movie made in the 50s that just didn't care about ever getting a seal. Now, having said that, it was made towards the end of the production code's reign, so by that time, filmmakers had started to figure out ways around the production code. And theaters wanted to make money, so the fact that this movie didn't have a seal didn't really knock it that much. It still made a ton of money when it came out. I mean, this thing was put out in 6 cities and was listed as the 3rd highest grossing film that week. It's a huge, very broad comedy, but sharply written, very well acted by Jack Lemmon, who's one of my all-time favorite actors, and Tony Curtis. Marilyn Monroe's really funny in it. It's a funny movie. Again, you don't need me to tell you that. It's a funny movie, but it's also an interesting case study in the production code. Well, I watched this one for a different series that's on this channel. I wonder what one it is. Gangs of New York stars Leonardo Dicaprio and Daniel Day-Lewis. It was directed by Martin Scorsese. It's the story of a boy who witnessed the death of his father, goes away for a time, comes back years later to join the gang who is headed up by the man who killed his father. When the boy comes back, he's played by Dicaprio, and the head of the gang is played by Daniel Day-Lewis. This movie was in production for 3 years. That's a huge chunk of time, and you don't need me, just like Some Like It Hot, you don't need me to sit here and tell you this is a great movie. It's known as being a great movie. But I had never seen it. I don't know why it slipped through the cracks, but it did. Of note for me was the performance by Daniel Day-Lewis, who is great in this movie. But again, you don't need me to tell you this because he was nominated for an Oscar. And excellence is what you come to expect from a Daniel Day-Lewis performance. And Dicaprio is really good here. You come to expect that from a Dicaprio performance too, but it's obvious why Dicaprio and Scorsese like working together because they make a good combination. The production design and shooting style of this film, top notch, especially the production design. There's a lot of attention to detail here that you don't get with every film. Actually feels like you are in a time and place, and that's impressive. Again, you don't need me to sit here and tell you this is a great movie. It's known as being a great movie. It's a great movie.